Hello there! My name is Brent, and behind me is the abandoned mining town of Cerro Gordo, my home for the past 6 years now. And my goal from day one up here has been to bring this town back to life. But no 2 months up here are the same. And this past month, I finally got started on a project that could make or break the future of this town. I rappelled deeper into an infamous mine shaft and found things not touched in a century. I found a hidden source of silver that could provide funding for the future of this town, and I also pulled something from deep underground and transformed it into possibly my favorite possession ever. So let's take a look at what it's really like trying to bring life back to a ghost town 6 years in. So my hope since first buying Cerro Gordo in 2018 is to bring the town back to life, to make it a place where people can come up, stay, learn the history here, experience the natural beauty that's all around the town. And from afar, I thought that meant that I'd fix up some buildings, people would come up and stay, and in abstract, looking at the listing, that all seemed difficult, but possible. And what I didn't know from states away is that our road washes out every big rain, that the snow can accumulate so much that it's impossible to even get to town, how difficult it actually is living without running water. But over the past 6 years, I feel very proud that I've grown to be a person that can handle some of these bigger tasks, to white knuckle it, figure out what's needed, and keep moving towards the goal. And so this month, finally, after 6 years, I feel capable to tackle the largest issue at Cerro Gordo, and that is water. Because without reliable running water, Cerro Gordo will never really come back to life. So every major owner of Cerro Gordo, since it was first established as a town in the 1860s, has tried their hand at bringing water all the way up here. If we look all the way back, we first have Mortimer Belshaw, the man who is responsible for turning this patch of earth from a sleeping mining camp into a booming Wild West town. And by the 1870s, Belshaw's mining and refining was taking up to 35,000 gallons of water every single day. And Belshaw, being the businessman, was tired of paying the cost and the hassle of bringing all of that water up this 8-mile dirt road you see behind me by mules. And so his plan was to tap a little spring that's about 2 or 3 miles from here. And if you look in the old newspapers, most of the mentions of that attempt were of the broken pipes, the hassle, and the maybe 1,300 gallons a day he was able to get. And the next major attempt was a few years later in 1873, when a guy named Bushi with his partners Workman and Temple decided they were going to take a major crack at solving the water issue at Cerro Gordo. And their plan was to tap a bigger spring that's 11.5 miles away and run 4-inch piping all the way back here to Cerro Gordo. And if you look at the newspapers, they say the cost of this thing was between $70,000 and $120,000 in 1870s money, which is like well over $3 million in today's money. But to their credit, Bushi and Associates pulled it off. And a year later, Cerro Gordo was pulling as much as 80,000 gallons of water a day out of this spring 11.5 miles away. And the newspapers just rejoiced. They said, this is an era of prosperity at Cerro Gordo. We have so much water that it's gonna become a swampland. They talk about the price of water dropping from 10 cents down to 1.5 cents, and that there was a run on bathtubs and soap as miners could finally afford to take baths up here. And because of their greed of taking out tens of thousands of gallons of water every single day, that spring also ran dry in about 15 months. So by 1875, Cerro Gordo was once again left high and dry without a reliable source of water. And that was a contributing factor to the first big era of Cerro Gordo, the Silver Era, coming to an end. And fast forward a few years, you get to 1910, and a guy named L.D. Gordon comes up here. And Gordon realized, while everybody was paying attention to the silver, nobody was paying attention to all of the zinc up here. So Gordon transformed this town from a ghost town back into the largest producer of zinc carbonate for the United States. And with that, he took his attempts at solving the water issue. And his was to partner with somebody that already owned a spring a couple miles away. And if you look at the old newspapers of that attempt, most of what you'll find are lawsuits. Lawsuits of Gordon taking too much water, not paying the right fee, and all of that. It's like Mark Twain said, in the desert, whiskey is for drinking and water's for fighting over. And eventually, Gordon's miners realized that at the 700-foot level of the mine, so 700 feet underground, water was trickling into the mine shaft. So they trenched this hole into a big sump, so a pool down there. They collected the water and pumped it to the surface and used that to supplement their mining efforts up here. And fast forward to the early 2000s, and the previous owners before me were still able to use that little trickle of water out of the mine as their main water source up here. But by the time I got the property in 2018, that pump was no longer working. The piping all the way down was cracked, and I was told it was way too dangerous to even go down into the mine to begin with. But with the help of some local legends, we not only went down in the mine, we replaced the pump, we replaced the piping, and we brought a trickle of water back to Cerro Gordo. And unfortunately, that too is very short-lived. The pump went out, kept having issues with priming, and over 2 or 3 years, I was banging my head against the wall trying to get this pump down in the mine working. But now, present day, with the prospect of the hotel coming online and finally welcoming people up here, I need a reliable source of water that's not going to give out. And that brings us to right now and what is sitting right behind me, which is a well drilling rig.
Hey, how you doing? I'm David Arvinin. This is Adam Keller. We're with Keller Drilling and Pump out of Chico, California, and got in touch with Brent, and we're gonna try to fix his water solution. What we plan on doing is getting this conductor casing down about 20 to 40 feet just to help us with any unconsolidated material from falling down and get into some good rock. And then we plan on drilling a test hole about 600. We're hoping to find water around 600 feet. Potentially we could go 1,000 plus to hopefully find some water. So it'll be a challenge, but it'll be fun. We've already had flat tires and overheating trucks and all kinds of stuff. So we're excited and look forward to this opportunity.
Unfortunately, like everything at Cerro Gordo, it has not been smooth sailing so far. The rock up here is very fractured and crumbly, and 40 feet down, we're getting a lot of rock just falling into the well. And Adam had brought up 40 feet of temporary casing to try to push it back towards we get better rock. And unfortunately, we're past that temporary casing and we're starting into issues. And so Adam is back home getting more casing, and he's gonna come back in a couple of weeks so we can continue our historic effort of finally bringing water to Cerro Gordo. But beyond the well, some of you may be wondering what's happening with the other large project in town, the rebuilding of the American Hotel. And we are once again in permit purgatory, where our MEP plans, our mechanical, electrical, and plumbing plans, were outsourced by the county to a third party in Sacramento. And that third party took about a year to approve them, and when it came back to the county to issue our permits to continue with our plumbing, the county said, because it took so long, your fire sprinkler plans are now out of date and you have to redo those. So we are now waiting for them to re-review our fire sprinkler plans from 3 years ago. So still stuck in permitting difficulties, but hopefully soon the hotel is back underway and we have a well to service the hotel. Over the past 6 years, one of the most exciting and, in my opinion, important things that I've been able to do is explore the mines here. And as far as the mines at Cerro Gordo, the most famous of the mines is the Union Mine. This is a vertical shaft that goes 900 feet straight down with 30 miles of mine shafts off of that. And of those mine shafts, the most infamous of them is right behind this collapse. This is the Omega Tunnel here at Cerro Gordo that leads into the 200 level of the mine. And I said infamous because the 200 level is the location of some deadly collapses, but this portal used to be used to bring ore, supplies, and miners in and out of the Union Mine. But when I moved up here 6 years ago, there was almost no indication that there was a mine shaft here at all. As you can see, there's been a lot of dirt removed. And so slowly, over the course of about 5 years, I dug this out using a backhoe, using a loader, using dynamite. And finally, recently, I got through any collapses and made my way into the Omega Tunnel after years of trying. And on that day, there was a level, a sign that said 400 level, meaning from the 200 all the way down to 400 feet underground. And it was something that needed rope and material. And at the time, I didn't have those things, but today I do. So right now we're going back in here to see how much further we can get down into this mine and see what type of new history we can learn. We dug all of this out, and through that tiny little hole, it opened up and there's a door. You kind of have to crawl on your stomach to get back there. So I'm gonna do that now before I think about it too much. That was even more sketchy than I remember it. Over here, there was a sign that says down to the 400. So there you go, 400 level. Unfortunately, this ladder's no more, so I don't imagine anyone's been down there in a very, very, very long time. All right, we're down. Let's see what we have around here. Looks like it might go up around that way. Some beautiful copper. That's an old bucket. Peppermint, fruit, table, lemon. I don't know what that was. Oh yeah, that goes up and over. Exit. That's good. That means that this is probably a main tunnel going somewhere. I like seeing that. Whoa. So that's almost fully vertical. You can see the track too. So this would have been a big stope. I don't have enough rope to go down there. I need to bring more rope to keep going down that way. Where am I? Old, really old chisel. This is from the really old workings. It's almost like there was a track there that has since collapsed. I like something over there. Where's this hole I came through? That was it? Oh my God. It's terrible. This is when I'm excited to have that super bright light. This is the brightest that this part of the mine ever has been. And right over there where my light's shining, that is the next vertical shaft straight down. Let's try to do this. It's still going. Wow. So I think that goes deeper than the 400. That might start going down towards the 550. I'm probably, I don't know, 50 feet over from where I rappelled down. And that sign over there could indicate that this was a stope, because it does seem like there's been serious collapse here in the, 150 years since they mined this. So this, pointing this way, leads me back towards my rope. However, around my rope now doesn't appear to be any openings anymore. There could have been at some point, or there would have been at some point, but at this point, and so unfortunately, this is where that sign to the 400 came down to. I'm almost certain that this kind of incline we're going down would have curved and gone that way. And the best lead that it seems we have at this point is down through there, up and over. But today, this rope can't get over there. And sneaking through that little hole that I had to at the very beginning wasn't really possible with a ton more rope. So I'm probably going to leave this rope in place. I have a pretty serious trek back up against loose rock. So this stuff has a tendency to want to rain down rock. So I have to keep my head down. Let's get our stuff on and try to get out of here and regroup again. All right, back to the real fun area. So you ready for the head cam going through that hole? Let's do it. All right, I'm back, but I think today's gonna have to be the final day. Tempting it a little bit too much to keep going down here. Strauss & Co. Levi Strauss & Co. This may be obvious, but I absolutely love giving new uses to old, abandoned, or discarded things, whether that's an old cabin that gets restored and comes back to life, or an old mine shaft that gets turned into a library. These things just really fill me with joy. And over the past few months, a very exciting project came together that started 86 feet down the mine shaft right there with a piece of fabric that was discarded 150 years ago. And it ended in Los Angeles with a super talented menswear designer by the name of Elliot Giffis. All right, now we're headed over to the oldest part of the workings at Cerro Gordo, the Jefferson Chimney. And this would have been worked, originally in the 1860s and the 1870s. If this mine was started in 1910, 1920, we're not finding those 1870s Levi's we're looking for. So, a place where Britt and others have found jeans before is around door frames in mines. They would plug them up with stuff to kind of like seal it. You can see here even, there's a burlap sack stuffed in the side of it. So looking at this canvas and this cloth that was shoved in the doorway, on this fabric, you see those little white spots? That is candle wax. And so before the miners were using headlamps, before they were using carbide, they're using candles back here. And so the fact that candle drips are on here indicates that this was a mine that was worked before carbide was prevalent. And that was around 1900 or so.
All right, so we got that, and I got the really big piece here. That's a giant piece that was used to insulate that door frame. Maybe we can do something cool with it, like rework it into some pants or a jacket or something.
So here's the hull. This is that piece of canvas or duck. That's huge. It's probably 10 feet long, 3.5, 4 feet wide. And I was thinking while I was down there, it'd be really cool to try to reuse this, make it into something. Maybe whether that's a bag, maybe some pants. That'd be awesome. All right, our fabric has made it to LA. We're bringing it to Elliot to see what he can make of this.
Hey guys, my name is Elliot Giffis. I'm a designer here in Los Angeles. I'm focused on menswear design. I've been doing it for about the last 20 years. And I just received this incredible, who knows how old canvas. And we're just trying to figure out what we can dream up. Hopefully a garment of some sort. I think we definitely have a challenge on our hands, but I think we'll come up with something cool and see where we go. Welcome back. It's been about 12 hours since I saw you guys last. Anyways, the jacket is done. It's definitely really tricky. I would say the thickness and just how big the weave is, the threads within the weave. But I'm pretty pleased with what we landed at. This is definitely, I've never sewn anything like this material before. But yeah, here we are. There it is. Jacket. We're here. We're gonna hopefully give it to Brent now. I'm super nervous. I hope it fits. I hope he likes it.
Really? Oh, hell yeah.
Open up the right side.
Whoa, dude. That is crazy. This is even better than I could have imagined.
So here we are. In my hands is potentially 130-year-old, maybe older, fabric that has been turned into a jacket. We went with a Type 2 styled duck canvas that was found in Cerro Gordo mines. One of the things I'm really proud of is my friend at Strange Threads did this chain stitch embroidery that's specific, little date, little name tag. Just thought it would be a nice touch to really just get it captured of where it comes from, who found it. we tried to really just like lean into the imperfections. So there's certain like holes that I didn't want to patch just because when you patch them, you kind of take away from the beauty of like the material. So it's kind of approaching it like a piece of steak, just a little bit of salt and pepper. And so some of them I patched, some of them I just like left as is. It's lined with kind of like a Pendleton-esque lining, like a vintage blanket. I didn't want to do anything that was too heavy, just again for like layering sake. We also have a little pocket here for any sort of goodies or whatnot. And yeah, I'm really proud and like I'm stoked that I was considered for this really special piece. And Brent, thank you so much for the trust in this. Yeah, there it is.
So thank you so much, Elliot, for this jacket. This is something that I'm going to cherish for the rest of my life and eventually leave to the museum up here. And I'm always blown away by the creativity, inspiration, and art that come out of this old mining town. But I know that Cerro Gordo is not the only old mining town that inspires art. And so this month, I took a trip to a neighboring ghost town that has a very heavy art influence. Six years into living at Cerro Gordo, something that I found also really important is to try to continue finding inspiration anywhere that I can. This winter, as an effort to escape the cold up at Cerro Gordo, I took a little road trip around some southern states and I visited other old ghost towns and met some of the characters there and it just got my wheels spinning about what's possible at Cerro Gordo. And right now, I'm in a town not too far from Cerro Gordo called Darwin. And I've been to Darwin many times, but I like to come over here, ride around, and try to let my mind wander to Cerro Gordo, what I like, what I don't like. And Darwin's interesting where it was a mine that was began in the 1870s, similar time frame from Cerro Gordo. And these days, Darwin has about 30, 35 residents, and it's really becoming known as kind of like an artist community. And the reason for that is a sculptor, Jim Hunolt, that moved in over here. And his sculptures around town that we can see. But it reminds me of Marfa in Texas, where this old Texan town, artist moved in and suddenly became very popular. And it really inspires me to keep working with different artists at Cerro Gordo and see what we could create. So we're gonna look around a little bit, but my main goal today is not to explore Darwin. I have heard and read about this spring that's out in the desert not too far from here that has koi fish living in it in the middle of the desert. And that sounds pretty cool for me. So we're gonna see if we can find it. Here's more of the Jim Hunolt sculptures and they're all around town. And his family still owns some property here. And this is where he spent a lot of time, and it's cool, you know, to think that he came out here 50 years ago or so and used the desert as inspiration. Like I said, over in Marfa, it was this guy named Donald Judd, kind of very much put Marfa on the map. And so I want to make that a part of Cerro Gordo moving forward. So if you're out there and you're an artist and you want to contribute or you know something that would be good, let me know below. You know, maybe one day we'll have artists in residence and stuff, but we may need to get the hotel going first. This is their legendary jail, as they call it. Could you imagine getting stuck in here? Let me out, let me out, let me out. But again, I've been visiting a lot of other old mining towns this winter, all over the southern states. If you're interested in those videos, I'm posting those individually on my second channel, which is Ghost Town 2. I'll link that down in the description as well. And with that, I'm gonna keep cycling along. Oh. ID anyone? Anybody have an ID? Whoa. Oh,
I think I see the beginning of what we came to see. Anytime you see trees out in the desert, you know that there must be some water around, and I'm hoping to find some fish as well. Oh my goodness, and here we are. That's so cool, oh my gosh. Oh, I love things like this. Some weird little corner of the desert, middle of just this absolute crazy wash, you get goldfish. And from my understanding, this spring that's here is called China Garden Spring, and it was originally set up for the mines in the area. There's mines called Zinc Hill Mines. But you know, it's got me thinking, if I had water, if I could do something like this. But look at these guys, they look so hungry. Oh, on my return trip, there's actually feed here, from my understanding. We're gonna feed the fish. I was wondering why they were so hungry. They're begging. Well, they heard it. They heard it. You guys ready? Wow, just fiends. All right, let's get moving. Down towards Darwin Falls, and this is where the town of Darwin gets their water, and this would have been where Nadu of Cerro Gordo fame got the water for the town originally. And these days, Darwin still gets from here, as well as Panamint Springs, which is a really cool campground inside of Death Valley National Park. And I know the guy that used to run Panamint Springs, and he was telling me once that their biggest problem with keeping the water going is the mules, because the mules keep breaking into the pipe to get at the water, which I get. You know, out here in Death Valley in the desert, it's not easy to get water. Recently, the price of both silver and gold have hit all-time highs, with silver peaking out over $100 an ounce and gold topping out over $5,000 an ounce. And if you own an abandoned mining town like Cerro Gordo, that gets your attention. And as all of this was happening, the big run up on price, I was making this video where I was taking the waste rock here at Cerro Gordo from right here at the old smelter, and I took 200 pounds of this slag and I got out 4 ounces of silver and made it into a knife. But that got me thinking, because that 4 ounces of silver is worth close to $400, and $400 for 200 pounds, that's almost $2 a pound. So on a ton basis, that would almost be $4,000 a ton for this slag that's just laying on the surface all around Cerro Gordo. And my goal from day one at Cerro Gordo has never been to start the mine again. I want this to be a destination for people to come up, to learn from the history here, to enjoy the natural beauty. But that said, 6 years into this thing, it is expensive. Restoring an abandoned mining town is a giant money pit. How do you make a small fortune on a mining town? You start with a large fortune, and that makes things tough. So after this experiment with the knife, it got me thinking, you know, this slag is laying all around here. If it's just a matter of like recycling, picking up this slag from the ground and refining it down into silver, maybe that's a different story. You know, I'm burning through propane probably at more than the silver's worth, but there's places that can refine 10, 20 ounces of slag every day. And so today, what I think I'm going to do is spend the afternoon and see how much slag I can actually pick up from all around me. And if that works out well, then maybe bringing some of this to one of these larger refineries and seeing what they can do with it. And so I have some of these old ore sacks that somebody left behind here, and I am going to pick up the slag all around this smelter around me. But as you can see, I can spend a couple of days here and hopefully accumulate quite a bit, and then we can send that off and get a better representative sample if my math is correct and if this stuff's actually worth continuing on. But each bit of this, a little bit of history, and it's kind of cool to think about. All right, so in just under an hour, I got 20 bags here. I'm gonna do some more to get us to a ton. I think that's gonna be a good representative sample. So gonna get these up to the shop, later get them to the truck and get them over to the lab. It doesn't even look like I made a dent in the slag that's here. So I think there's good, I don't know, 20, 30 tons here. So let's get a ton of it figured out and then take it from there. All right, so the bags ended up being between about 40 something pounds and 70 something pounds each. So I'm gonna take 40 of them just to be safe. That should put us over a ton, but I'd rather have more than less. And that should give us a good sample. So let's get these loaded up down the hill into my truck and out of here. I remember when I first came up to Cerro Gordo and I was trying to figure out how do I keep an old mining town alive pretty much by myself. And I would tackle the smallest projects like building the deck outside this cabin that I called the writer's cabin. And pretty quickly, people started coming up to help out. And that just made bigger and bigger projects possible. And so I thought I would ask a few people that have been up here for a long time now what Cerro Gordo in the past few years has meant to them.
Hi, I'm Christy, and I'm a volunteer for the town. I've been coming up, actually as of a couple weeks, it'll be 5 years that I've been coming up. And we now live in Keeler as a result of that. What holds us together is just the spirit of Cerro Gordo and just, you know, making this big dream of Brent's come true, I would say, which is just turning this into a living history.
It was a whole other world. I had never been in such a place where it was so isolated, but not at the same time. So many people come up here from so many different places, and I think I've enjoyed getting to know all these different people. Right now we're kind of working on the museum and we're talking about the Levi's jeans, and I can't wait to continue for hopefully more years to come.
You may have seen me before, Steven, town manager. I've been working here for 3 years now. I remember the first day I came up, it was very snowy. I got stuck in my little Subaru, but Brent and others were here to help me out. We've got a whole tour program going on, so Friday, Saturday, Sundays throughout the year, we're giving tours of the Hoist House. The whole reason this town exists because of what's going on in that building.
I'm Hans. I have been here now, I think, for about 5 years, coming up every month or so with Christy. My first experience here was that we stayed in a bunkhouse and it was a really cold night and there were two guys. They were like probably 2 generations younger than me, but we really connected at a level that I know from being in youth hostels around the world. Over the time, obviously, we've come to know people that keep coming back here, and Cerro Gordo really has become our family.
Wow, fancy. How are you? Wow, you like your teeter-totter? The population of Cerro Gordo has grown in the past 6 years, not just of humans, but of animals. These guys are some of the first things that I brought up here when I moved up here, just for some companionship. Other than the American Hotel and the progress on that, I get asked the most about the goats and the cats. I don't show them in all the videos just because they feel like kind of family. They're almost like background at this point, but here are the goats. Here they are. This is Beretta. All of them have a great life. We have the alpacas poking through over there. You can see those guys. Hello there. How are you? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? And very quickly, I think I'm gonna go try to find the cats. They're a little elusive because they're always out and about, but there's 7 of them still up here. So let's see the cats just as a quick pet break. Goats, 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 chickens. And right outside, we have cat number 1. There's 4 almost identical gray cats here at Cerro Gordo. I call them the clones. So there's 1, there's 2. Hello, I see you. Oh, we got a little parade. Hello. This is Radio. She upgraded from a porch cat to an indoor cat 4 year ago. Radio is my buddy, my best friend up at Cerro Gordo. It's hard to believe that I've been coming up here to watch the sunsets for 6 years now. That is a long time. And I remember right around 4 years, I thought, man, people could have had children. Those children are now in school. And so every time when it comes to this time of year, it's hard not to think about the passage of time and kind of sift through my memories over the past few years here. And when I think of my favorite memories of the past 6 years, they're always when a lot of people are up here. They're not individual things. I think about the day that we couldn't get any concrete company to deliver concrete up here. And so all of these people that I had met rallied together, and we had 2 absolutely brutal days mixing and pouring thousands of bags of concrete, but we got it done. You know, I think about the holiday parties that we have for the volunteers that come up here, and the laughs and the connections that have formed and the friendships that now exist far beyond Cerro Gordo. You know, I think of my favorite day of the year, and that is probably our annual foot race when hundreds of people come together and run up our road. We lose all sorts of money on it, but we have an amazing time. And sidebar, we're having that again this year. So if you're interested in joining my favorite day of the year, it's coming up at the end of May. But the point is, I think the real restoration at Cerro Gordo, more even than the buildings, has been the connections that this place has once again allowed to happen. The friendships that have formed, the human interactions, and just the feeling of, again, that coming alive that I've been chasing from the very, very beginning. So I want to say thank you all so much for that. It's been an amazing 6 years, and I have you guys to thank for it. And I've once again started a Patreon. You know, it's going to be a busy year with a lot of projects going on up here. And so if you're interested in that, I'm going to put some description down below about how you can support the town with that as well. On that note, I am going to sit here, enjoy the sunset while I have it, and think about the next 6 years to come here at Cerro Gordo. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope to see you guys next time.